What's up guys, DreamcastGuy here, tackling today one of the most famous urban legends in all of gaming, that Final Fantasy VII was actually incomplete and originally you were going to be able to revive Aerith. Let's go through all the evidence for the claim and all the evidence against the claim and fully dismantle this urban legend from the inside out once and for all. Now, let's dig in. First, a tiny bit of history. It was the late 90s. Many people were first getting into hardcore gaming, and RPGs were first really starting to take root in America. Now, you gotta remember, the internet existed in this age, but it still was not accessible by the majority of people, especially not kids. We'd be looking at porn all day. So, when all of a sudden we're playing our first real, dramatic, serious, hardcore RPG with Final Fantasy VII, when Aerith died, we didn't know what to do with ourselves. This was a character we had known, we had loved, we had leveled with, we had fought beside, and suddenly, gone. In an instant, which is the original developer's intention. He wanted a very natural death, and in real life, anybody who's lost family members knows, the death doesn't take its time. When it's time, you're gone. And that's what he wanted to encapsulate with Aerith. But many of us couldn't accept that. Rumors began to circulate on schoolyards. Maybe there was a way to revive her. Maybe she was supposed to be revivable all along. What if we could shove Yuffie in the way? These were literally things we speculated on. There were even rumors that circulated around among the kids that said that in certain magazines they were making reference to the fact that originally she was going to be revived, but they ran out of time. All these tiny little clues that were hidden in there to show us hardcore gamers that truly Aerith does live on, if only we would seek hard enough. Well, now we realize that's all bullshit. But, you know what? Let's go through the list of slight, tiny, barely connected events that convinced millions of people that maybe somewhere Aerith lived outside of just our hearts and dreams. The empty ledge. Moments before the final battle, everybody takes one last chance to pose, look awesome, make sure their hair gel is fully intact, and look down into the northern crater, preparing themselves bodily and mentally for the final fight against Sephiroth. But one of the ledges is empty, originally making people think, well, what if that's where Aerith was going to stand? They put that ledge there. Well, really, personally, I think that they programmed the ledge first. They did the pre-rendered background, made it look all pretty, and then the other team came in to actually place the character models and script the event, and they just put people sporadically on ledges. There happened to be one extra ledge. There's no magical conspiracy here. As you go into the final battle, Cloud is tasked with creating 3 separate attack squads, so that as the battle rages on and your characters get exhausted or very dead, you can switch teams in and out. Well, there's a third team that only has 2 members, where the other 2 groups have 3 members. Now, people originally said, see, that's where Aerith would have gone! When really what it is that the 2 secret characters, Yuffie and Vincent, comprise the third group, just 2 members. So if you never unlocked them, Aerith, well, let's face it, was dead in the ground where she's supposed to be, then there would be no third party at all. So unfortunately, also debunked. Aerith's ghost. Upon returning back to the Midgar Slums church, you'll actually see Aerith's ethereal image appear for a few frames upon first entering the building, staring at the door, almost pleading, "Find me." Now, we realize this is just a compiling glitch, that they put in a certain event and it just bleeds over into other events. It happens, but still, seeing those few frames of Aerith staring at you, kinda get you. These next 2 points are actually the ones that convinced me the most. I believed this theory for the very longest time, and really, it's because of this. For the entire first disc, we're given options: side with Aerith or side with Tifa during a lot of different arguments, show compassion, or be driven towards your goal. These were very interesting and actually opened up a lot of interesting branching dialogue points. But after Aerith's death, it ends completely, flat out. That entire gimmick is completely removed. Now, I understand that they probably did this because it would be harder and harder as the game went on to write branching dialogue points to say if you were siding with Vincent or siding with Barrett if that was your team, or side with Tifa or side with Kate Sith. Aerith actually has several lines of dialogue after she's dead. If you alter the game's code and put her back in, then at several moments during the game she'll say lines that actually relate and contribute to the conversation. Several times at Fort Condor, she'll actually help you interrogate people about upcoming attacks from Shinra. In Rocket Town, she'll talk to you. In Great Glacier, after you snowboard, she'll talk about how bored she is by it all. This is very interesting. It shows that originally she may have lived past Disc 1. The leading theory on this is that she was originally going to be be killed in Northern Crater moments before the final boss fight. Sephiroth would drop down, kill her, flip us the bird, then we'd go fight him. But they changed it later on. People even point to the fact that when Sephiroth is falling to impale her in the Forgotten City, all you see is blackness above him, making it look like originally he could have been falling from anywhere, that they made that scene first and decided where she'd die later. It's a really interesting thought indeed, and I want to hear your guys' reflections on it. In the comments down below specifically, tell me what you think about the Sephiroth killing her in Northern Crater theory, or what you think in general about the incomplete game theory. I don't know if I buy it. Everything from the original developers makes it sound like the game went exactly as they planned. They were rushed, yes, but these days, what game isn't? If you're making a game that takes 10,000 hours to make, people who are paying your bills are going to keep telling you, hey buddy, hurry the fuck up, I'm tired of buying you milk. Other items that support this theory are architectural inconsistencies with the Forgotten City, making people think originally there were alternate paths or ways to get down to the lake and visit Aerith. There's small lines of dialogue between Tifa and Cloud that make it sound like perhaps really Aerith never wanted to die at all. The fact that Aerith gets her ultimate weapon so early, but her limit breaks so late, make people think that these are other design flaws that lead towards a character that was supposed to live longer. But really, at the end of the day, we know none of this is true. Let me end this by reading a beautiful quote from the original designer, and really, it sums up why Aerith had to die and why it means so much to us to this day. Nomura Tetsuya, the character designer and story writer, said he expressed strong frustration during the creation of this game because he saw the perennial cliche where the protagonist loves someone very much and has to sacrifice himself and die in a dramatic fashion to express that love. He said he found this trope appeared in both films and video games in North America and Japan and asked himself, is it right to set such an example to people? Yoshiniro Katase, while commenting on the death of Aerith, said, in the real world, things are very different. You just need to look around you. Nobody wants to die that way. People die of disease and accident. Death comes suddenly, and there is no notion of good or bad. It leaves not a dramatic feeling, but a great emptiness. When you lose someone you've loved very much, you feel this big empty space and think, if I had known this was coming, I would have done things differently. These are the feelings I wanted to arouse in players with Aerith's death, relatively early in the games. Feelings of reality, not of Hollywood. Nomura Tetsuya, in a 2005 interview, said, when I reflect on Final Fantasy VII, the fact that fans were so offended by her sudden death probably means that we were successful with her character. If fans had accepted her death, that would have meant that she wasn't an effective character. After the game originally released, rumors were already circulating about her being revived. There were giant petitions in Japan begging them just to revive her in any way, even to re-release the game, have some sort of early form DLC to revive her, and Nomura blatantly told all of them no. He said, the world's expecting us to bring her back to life, and that is the classic convention. But no, we refuse. Katsume and Nomura both agreed. The meanings of Aerith's death are many, but her revival will never happen. And I love that. Final Fantasy VII is one of the greatest works of art ever, and I'm glad to have been a part of it. I'm glad the world got to enjoy it. It's fantastic. The extended medium, the entire Final Fantasy VII universe is amazing. It's just so vibrant and real. Thanks so much for watching, guys. This has been DreamcastGuy. Feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe. But as always, keep dreaming. Also, check out my Facebook fan page. That's where I take a lot of my inspiration and bounce a lot of my ideas off the audience as to what my next video will be. So please, stop by, give it a like, and, give me some inspiration.